Hello and welcome to Cindershadow Gaming. I am your host Cindershadow, and today we gotta talk about Tibalts Trickery. The deck with Tibalts Trickery has gained a lot of attention since the streamer event went down, and I gotta say the deck is not something that should ever exist in Standard. We already saw Tibalts Trickery get broke in Modern or Pioneer with the cascading effect. The MTG aids showed off, which is absolutely insane. The card and the deck being able to do like a turn 2 Emrakul is not cool in anyone's book. This is a deck that's creating a scenario where things are consistently winning on turn 2, turn 3, which is against the idea of what Magic is supposed to be with the Standard environment in particular. Usually anything that's winning on turn 3 is looking for a ban immediately. It's usually you want to see turn 4, turn 5 for more consistent style wins when you have a rush type of deck set up for Standard, and at that point it's a little bit more fair for people to be able to counter it and be able to actually play the game, where instead you're literally just playing a game of solitary with this type of combo or this type of uniqueness in a card. I've got here a prototype version of the Tibalts Trickery deck with 4 Tormod's Crypt, 4 Stonecoil Serpents. Those are 2 of the key cards there because you can cast them for 0 and use Tibalts Trickery to then get into a better spell. If you hit Genesis Ultimatum off Tibalts Trickery, then you're digging deeper in your deck. You're able to put down lands and all the other pieces of a puzzle if you really wanted to. There is so much more that you could do with this deck than just having a simple thing like this. I would more look at this. You want to set up either Genesis Ultimatum or one of the other ultimatums, where then you cast that, you get all this other stuff for free off of it, which is absolutely stupid on turn 2. If you're lucky enough, you can even hit an Ugin turn 2, and having an Ugin on board on turn 2 is pretty much a death warrant of the game. It does take a little bit of time, and if you went second, maybe your opponent will have something on turn 3, on their turn 3, and able to deal with the Ugin, but that is a very niche area when it comes down to this deck. If you end up playing against someone in Arena and you see them mulling down to 5, down to 4, they are playing Tibalts Trickery trying to get the 2 pieces of the puzzle just so they can get something on turn 2. All you need is 2 lands, one of them a red source and the other one, and then you need a 0 casted artifact to really pull this off. It's way too easy of a combo to do straight up. I think when you get to turn 3, turn 4 with this, it probably does fall apart a little bit more. Maybe if you add in a ramp sort of effect where it gets to something a little bit more consistency, but you still have the option of that turn 2 enabling, it will probably do very well. Last I heard, this took a 4th place finish in a recent tournament. I don't know how many people were playing in it, but it is something overall where the card is just going to create this nightmare. Now, this prototype is showing black with Garruk in there. I honestly would just drop the black. Garruk is good, but he's not going to be anything crazy at this point. You could probably get away with adding other things, maybe one of the Chandras that does more direct damage. You can get away with putting in maybe the Relic Robber, where you're always constantly able to swing and attack, and then you're doing these extra points of damage over time. Even Quakebringer would be probably better, because then you have that down, and then all you need is a couple more giants. So really, if you're hitting a few things like that, I think you'll do very well. They also have Yadara Wandering Monster in here, and if it hits the board, it's an 8/8 with trample as well. Plain and simple, you might even want to try and run like Embercleave or any of the instants that will boost your creature, your monsters, and then you double up on the damage. You might be able to pull off a turn 3 win immediately in this with that type of setup. Either way, Tibalts Trickery is absolutely wrecking the way things are. Let's take a closer look at that card. So what does Tibalts Trickery do? It's a 2 mana, 1 red, 1 generic, instant counter target spell in red. And counter target any spell in red for 2 mana is inherently going to be busted. This is why they've never printed counterspell not in arena, but not in standard in a very long time. The same reason why they haven't put in lightning bolt in standard for a very long time. They're undercast and they're undercosted for what they do, and they just having that effect on turn 2 is just very much in itself hard to deal with. But what's more in Tibalts Trickery is you choose 1, 2, or 3 at random. Its controller then mills that many cards. So up to 3 cards of your library goes into the graveyard. Not a big deal. Its controller mills and until then they exile the top of their deck until they find a non-land card with a different name than that spell. So it's going to ignore Stonecoil if you casted that, or Tormod's Crypt if you casted that. They then may cast that card without paying its mana cost. Then they put the exile cards on the bottom of their library in a random order. The idea here, though, is if you hit a Genesis Ultimatum, then it goes 5 or 6 cards deep, and you get all those permanents into the battlefield for free. That's Mana Ramp, that's Ugin, that's all these other things, and it just creates a degenerate setup for a combo. Now, it does have its flaws. You won't hit something 100% all the time, but the chances are you're going to normally hit something pretty good when the deck is that big. And having the top 1, 2, or 3 cards getting milled into the graveyard with the way the shuffler is in arena, I keep going back to this, where it seems to want to clump like cards together, and a lot of those like cards will be those 0 casted, so it may mill those 3 extra Tormod Crypts, or just get them out of the way at the same time, and then you're digging for something even better. So there's certain things here. I know people talk about the arena shuffler, how it's evil, even on everyone's favor and stuff like that, but there is something inherently wrong with the way things seem to clump in the shuffler. So I think this is going to really exploit that a little bit more, which to me is just another reason that this card is going to need to be banned. There's too much at stake with this card, and it's just going to make standard a battleground of do I deal with this turn 2 combo, or do I just ignore it? I have a funny feeling this is going to warp standard in a way that's not sensible for the format, like we had with Omnath back in Zendikar. I think it's just going to do so much more, and then you suddenly sit there and go, I don't want to deal with the standard. It's stale, and it's an unfair game of solitaire. And that's the one thing people really dislike with the game, is when it becomes this solitaire aspect. And hopefully they smarten up and say, listen, we need to axe this card now and not let it continue in the current environment. Well, thank you for watching this video on Tibalts Trickery. Hopefully you found this a little bit important, and if you did, do subscribe down below. I'd like to give my opinion out on a lot of the new Magic cards that are going, idea for deck techs, and much more. Until next time, you guys have a great day, and thanks for watching.